The first challenge's final breath. A 38-year-old contestant was on the French reality show Koh Lanta, the country's version of Survivor. The show placed everyday people in extreme situations, testing their endurance in remote locations for entertainment. On March 22, 2013, he arrived at the tropical island of Koh Rong, Cambodia, ready for adventure. He had passed all the medical examinations required to participate. The show's producers had declared him fit enough to face the challenges ahead. The very first challenge of the season was a tug-of-war contest held on a beach under the scorching Cambodian sun. Temperatures that day reached over 95 degrees with humidity near 100%. Cameras rolled as he and his teammates strained against the rope. Minutes into the challenge, he suddenly collapsed onto the sand. At first, it seemed like simple exhaustion, something common in these physically demanding shows. He complained of severe cramps in his arms, then his chest. The show's on-site physician rushed to his side. Initial treatment was administered right on the beach as cameras continued to record. He was conscious but in obvious distress. His condition rapidly deteriorated as the medical staff attempted to stabilize him. What viewers at home would never see was the series of cardiac arrests that followed. The production team called for emergency evacuation. A helicopter was dispatched to the remote island, but valuable time had already been lost. During transport, he suffered another cardiac arrest. Medical personnel performed CPR in the helicopter as it raced toward the nearest hospital. His heart stopped and restarted multiple times during the flight. By the time they reached the hospital in Sihanoukville, his organs had been deprived of oxygen for too long. Doctors fought to save him, but the damage was irreversible. At 3:15 p.m., less than 2 hours after the challenge began, the 38-year-old contestant was pronounced dead. The official cause was a massive heart attack triggered by extreme physical exertion in tropical conditions. The healer's unhealed wounds. A 45-year-old medical physician was assigned to the Koh Lanta production in Cambodia. His primary responsibility was to ensure the safety and well-being of contestants like the man who had just died. Just 10 days after that man's death, on April 1st, 2013, the story took another shocking turn. The remote island that had witnessed one death would soon claim another. The fallout from the contestant's cardiac arrest was immediate and intense. French media outlets began questioning the doctor's response time and the treatment provided on the beach. Reports emerged suggesting that vital minutes had been lost as cameras continued to roll before proper medical intervention began. Some publications claimed he had prioritized the show's production over a contestant's life. These accusations spread rapidly across television, newspapers, and the internet. Each day brought new allegations about his professional conduct. For a physician who had built his career on saving lives, the public scrutiny became unbearable. In his hotel room on the island of Koh Rong, he made a final decision. He wrote a detailed note defending his actions. He explained that he had reached the contestant within minutes and had done everything medically possible given the remote location. "My name has been sullied by the media," he wrote. "I cannot bear the disgrace to a career I have dedicated my life to." He signed the note and placed it where it would be found. In the early hours of the morning, with the production crew still reeling from the contestant's death, he walked to a secluded area of the beach. There, alone with his thoughts and the sound of waves, he consumed a lethal combination of prescription medications. His body was discovered by a staff member later that morning. The doctor had chosen to leave rather than return to France and face what he perceived as an unwinnable battle to restore his professional reputation. Obstacle course to cardiac failure. A 38-year-old contestant was on the obstacle course game show Wipeout. The show was known for its grueling challenges that pushed participants to their physical limits for the entertainment of millions. On November 18, 2020, he arrived at the filming location in Santa Clarita, California, ready to tackle the infamous course that had tested thousands before him. Like all contestants, he had signed medical waivers and undergone basic health screenings. The production team cleared him to participate after he reported no existing health conditions. The course that day featured steep climbs, jarring falls into water, and intense cardio demands. Cameras captured every moment as he navigated the obstacles, his body experiencing repeated impacts and stress. After completing the course, he walked off set under his own power. There was no indication that anything was wrong until he suddenly stopped and placed his hand on his chest. Production staff noticed him swaying slightly before he sat down and mentioned he was experiencing chest pain. Within minutes, his speech became slurred and one side of his face began to droop. Classic signs of a stroke that went initially unrecognized. On-set medics responded quickly once they realized the severity of his condition. His heart rate was dangerously elevated and his blood pressure had spiked to alarming levels. The medical team administered emergency treatment while calling for an ambulance. He remained conscious but increasingly confused as paramedics arrived and transported him to a nearby hospital. At the hospital, doctors discovered he was experiencing both a massive stroke and a heart attack simultaneously. His heart had thrown a clot that traveled to his brain. causing catastrophic damage. Despite aggressive intervention, his condition deteriorated throughout the night. The physical exertion from the course had triggered a cascade of failures within his cardiovascular system. At 5:47 a.m. the following day, the 38-year-old contestant was pronounced dead, less than 18 hours after completing the Wipeout Challenge. Weighted waters of Bangkok. A 32-year-old contestant was on the Pakistani reality show Bul Ka Badshah. The program pitted everyday people against extreme physical challenges for cash prizes and fleeting fame. On August 19, 2009, he stood at the edge of a lake in Bangkok, Thailand, preparing for what would be his final television appearance. The challenge seemed straightforward: swim across a lake while wearing a backpack. What made it lethal was the weight. The production team had loaded his pack with 7 kilograms of additional weight, approximately 15 pounds. He was not a strong swimmer, a fact the producers were aware of but chose to overlook in their pursuit of dramatic television. Cameras rolled as he entered the murky water. The initial moments showed him moving forward with determination, his head above the surface as he began the crossing. 40 seconds into the swim, the first signs of distress became visible. The backpack had begun to absorb water, becoming increasingly heavy with each passing moment. At the 1-minute mark, his swimming stroke changed from coordinated to desperate. His head dipped below the surface momentarily before he fought his way back up, gasping for air. Production crew members watched from the shore, not yet realizing the seriousness of the situation. They assumed his struggle was part of the entertainment value of the show. By the time he raised an arm and called for help, he was already in the late stages of drowning. His lungs had begun to fill with water. The weighted backpack, now saturated and even heavier, pulled him downward with merciless force. The rescue boat, which should have been standing by, took nearly 3 minutes to reach his position. When divers finally located him beneath the surface, his body was motionless. They pulled him aboard and attempted resuscitation as they raced back to shore. Emergency medical technicians continued CPR for 27 minutes, but could not restore his breathing or pulse. The 32-year-old contestant was pronounced dead at the scene, the lake that was supposed to be a setting for entertainment having become his grave. The family feud prophecy. A 41-year-old nurse and mother of 3 appeared on the popular game show Family Feud in 2019. The episode featured her family competing for cash prizes in the long-running survey-based competition. During filming, host Steve Harvey asked her estranged husband a question that would later seem like a chilling prophecy. "What's the biggest mistake you made at your wedding?" Harvey asked with his characteristic grin. Her husband's response came quickly and with uncomfortable laughter from the studio audience. "I do." At the time, it seemed like a harmless joke about marriage, the kind of light humor the show thrives on. The couple was already experiencing significant marital problems and had begun divorce proceedings, though viewers at home had no way of knowing this context. 4 years later, on February 23, 2023, she failed to arrive at a scheduled pickup time for her children. Concerned family members went to check on her at her home in Quincy, Illinois. What they discovered inside would shock the community and transform a game show quip into something far more sinister. Her body was found on her bedroom floor. She had been shot multiple times with a gun. The crime scene showed signs of a planned attack rather than a spontaneous act of violence. Investigators quickly focused their attention on her estranged husband, from whom she had been legally separated for several years. Digital evidence revealed he had conducted online searches for how to break into houses, how to open locked windows, and how to make a homemade silencer for a gun. Prosecutors would later present evidence showing he had entered her home through a second-story window after climbing onto the roof. Her husband was arrested on March 13, 2023. During his trial, prosecutors reminded jurors of his ominous Family Feud answer. The jury found him guilty on all counts, and he was sentenced to serve life in prison without the possibility of parole. Idol worship's last drive. A 30-year-old aspiring singer whose fixation on pop star and American Idol judge Paula Abdul went far beyond normal fan admiration. In 2006, she appeared on the 5th season of the singing competition show, determined to impress her idol. The audition was broadcast to millions of viewers across America. Wearing braces decorated with Paula Abdul's name, she performed a shaky rendition of Proud Mary. The judges' reactions were harsh and immediate. Simon Cowell mocked her appearance, saying her braces made her look like a creature from the movie Shrek. Randy Jackson struggled to contain his laughter. Most devastating for her, Paula Abdul herself appeared visibly uncomfortable and failed to defend her devoted fan. What the viewing audience didn't know was that she had been diagnosed with mental health issues, including depression and obsessive tendencies. The public humiliation on national television pushed her already fragile state toward a breaking point. In the years following her rejection, her fixation on Abdul intensified rather than diminished. Her family later revealed she watched her audition repeatedly, each time growing more distressed by the public ridicule. She created shrine-like displays in her bedroom featuring pictures and merchandise of the pop star. Her online activity showed hundreds of comments defending Abdul against critics, often writing as if they had a personal relationship. On November 11, 2008, she drove her Toyota Camry to Paula Abdul's home in the Sherman Oaks neighborhood of Los Angeles. She parked directly in front of the house, within clear view of security cameras. Inside the vehicle, she had brought pictures of Abdul, CDs, and various fan memorabilia. At some point during the night, she ingested a lethal combination of happy pills and prescription medications, a toxic cocktail resulting in too much candy. The next morning, Abdul's staff discovered her body slumped over in the driver's seat. She was still clutching a photograph of her idol. The 30-year-old aspiring singer had chosen to leave this world just steps away from the woman whose approval she had desperately sought but never received. Swimming down the Hudson. A 39-year-old chef and restaurant owner appeared on Gordon Ramsay's reality show Kitchen Nightmares in 2007. His Italian restaurant in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, was struggling with mounting debt and declining customers. The celebrity chef's visit was supposed to save his business, not foreshadow his death. During the filming, Ramsay delivered his trademark brutal assessment of his situation. In one particularly pointed moment, he told the chef, "Your business is about to swim down the Hudson." The comment was meant to underscore the restaurant's dire financial situation, but years later, it would take on an eerily prophetic quality. After the show aired, the restaurant initially saw the expected boost in business that comes with television exposure. He implemented many of Ramsay's suggestions and the restaurant appeared to be recovering. He eventually sold the business in 2009, seemingly moving on to new opportunities. But behind the scenes, his personal struggles were intensifying. Friends later revealed that he had accumulated personal debt exceeding $100,000. His marriage was under strain, and the pressure of trying to maintain the restaurant's post-show success had taken a severe toll on his mental health. The chef who had once smiled confidently for the cameras was silently drowning in financial and emotional turmoil. On September 24, 2010, motorists crossing the George Washington Bridge reported seeing a man climb over the protective railing. Before anyone could intervene, he jumped from the bridge, plummeting more than 212 feet into the Hudson River below, the very river Ramsay had metaphorically warned about 3 years earlier. First responders recovered his body from the water shortly after. The medical examiner would later rule that he had chosen to leave. The restaurant industry mourned the loss of a talented chef, while television viewers were left to grapple with the disturbing connection between Ramsay's warning and the manner of his death. Hell's final exit. A 37-year-old chef and contestant was on the second season of Gordon Ramsay's reality cooking competition Hell's Kitchen in 2006. Known for her consistent performance and calm demeanor in the chaotic environment of Ramsay's kitchen, she quickly became a fan favorite. She survived numerous eliminations, making it to 5th place before Ramsay finally ended her journey on the show. During her time on Hell's Kitchen, she demonstrated remarkable resilience in the face of Ramsay's notorious verbal barrages. While other contestants crumbled under pressure, she maintained her composure, responding to criticism with determination rather than tears. This strength on camera made what happened after the show all the more shocking to those who had watched her. When the episodes aired, she returned to her home near Dallas, Texas. Friends noted that she struggled to readjust to normal life after the intense spotlight of reality television. The transition from being recognized everywhere to returning to anonymity proved more difficult than anticipated. She had expected the show to launch her culinary career, but those opportunities didn't materialize as she had hoped. In the months following her appearance, she experienced increasing symptoms of depression. Family members later revealed she had begun seeing a therapist and was prescribed medication for her mental health. The confident chef seen on television was battling inner demons that viewers never glimpsed. The contrast between her public persona and private struggles grew wider with each passing week. On May 9, 2007, just months after her final Hell's Kitchen episode aired, her family became concerned when she wouldn't answer phone calls. Her sister went to check on her at their family home in Bedford, Texas. What she discovered was unimaginable. The chef had used a shotgun to self-unalive. The medical examiner determined that she had died instantly from a single blast to her head. There was no note explaining her final decision, leaving her family and fans to wonder what had driven the promising chef to such a desperate act. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.